secrets of the universe.
Welcome to the Last Awakening podcast.
You ever watch The Warriors, John? Warriors come out and play.
Oh no, I think I've lost my mind.
I don't have no bottles though.
Yep.
Yeah, how you like that old intro we went back to?
Need a little bit of
yeah.
something like a little something like that.
Welcome to the Last Awakening Warriors. I am your host, Joshua David, and I am here with Johnny Walker.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
What is going on? We got
Not much.
I think we have a fantastic show lined up today. This is bringing things literally full circle. Full circle.
All
And what
right.
I mean by that is that for the last 10 months, we've been bringing you videos, and today we bring it full circle. Because the stuff that we're going to bring you today coincides with the very first video from us right here.
Yep.
At the Last Awakening Warriors podcast.
That's right. Full
And
circle.
It is exciting to actually put these things together. And if you haven't watched the first video that we ever did, please go watch that video so you know what we're going to be talking about, and probably watch the last 3 or 4 videos that we did, because like it's the culmination of that first video and the last 3 or 4 videos that we done.
Yeah. Tell them the name of the first video.
Who is the liar?
Who is?
I believe
the
that's what it
liar?
was, if I'm not mistaken.
That might be the name of it.
I know it's about that verse anyway. Who is the liar?
Right.
So it's definitely interesting.
Right.
So what's been going on with you? How you doing?
Not much is going on. Not much. Just we study all the time like usual, and still doing my diet.
Right.
Protein shakes.
Oh
lots
yeah.
and lots and lots of protein shakes. And we're at that. Me and my sister are both at that time where your stomach is like, "Oh hey, what's going on?"
I think you guys forgot about me.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have this stuff that's called food.
Yeah. I'm having one issue. She's having the opposite issue, but neither
yeah.
issue is very, very fun for
Right.
either one of us.
Right.
But it'll work its way through, right?
Oh yeah.
It does. It's just a process.
Right.
So your stomach's used to a bunch of crap, and when you don't give it to it, it throws a fit. That's all.
It does.
Something like, being fed the narrative. And
For those who don't know, this is the beginning of his dissertation, just to let you guys know.
No, short. Sort of like when, listen, it's similar to when you live in the narrative your whole life, and you start hearing truth, and people that start hearing truth when they want to believe the narrative start losing control. So it's similar to that, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
Make that correlation like how I did that.
Yeah, it was very good. I liked it.
See, no dissertation. Go ahead. Take the floor.
Well, since Johnny didn't ask me how I'm doing today, I'm doing great,
no,
dude. I'm doing great.
Listen,
I'm doing great.
I have kindness. I have kindness. I'm a person of kindness. So how are you? How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing well. Let's see.
What you been
I had a
doing?
great talk with a friend of mine today. I haven't got a chance to talk to her within the last few months or something. We've been both busy. Schedules just didn't line up, and we got together today, had some Chinese food, and it went really good.
That's good. That's really good. Hey, Josh was telling me a little bit about the conversation, and it did sound like it went really well.
Yeah,
So,
she's getting closer to the kingdom, and she's starting to notice things herself, which is
right.
always good.
Yep.
I'll tell you one thing right now. I was talked to her, and I was like, um, you know, God isn't external from you; God's within you. And she looked
Hmm.
at me and said, "Yeah, Emmanuel." And I
Right.
said, "Exactly." And then she
Yep.
told me how she seen a billboard that said that.
Yep.
It said God with you or God with us or whatever. The what the church says it says, right? The verse, the meaning of Emmanuel in Isaiah.
Right. Right.
But no, she got it.
That's,
She got it that it's God within her.
yep.
I was like, cool. I'm down with it.
Yep. And it's just like that. You don't have to necessarily have to have the King James version of the Bible. You can even find truth
And a
on a
billboard.
billboard.
Yeah.
That's right. Father will talk to you all kind of ways.
And for those who might listen to this and not understand, um, you can either have Emmanuel, God within you, or you can have Jesus. Go study that yourself. They're
Hmm.
not the same.
No.
One is external, one is internal.
Yep.
And one you had your whole life, and the other one, the church wants you to
Yahweh.
invite in whatever that
Yep.
is of a
Once you
name that they
believe,
made up in the 1600s. But hey,
and that's what Yahweh wants to.
so besides my
So,
nose being stuffy, I'm doing great.
right?
Yeah.
That's gonna take care of itself soon. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm already just got over it anyway. So, um,
right?
besides that, my family's dealing with some stuff.
Yep.
I can
Everybody
personally say
send your
I'm
best
not.
wishes to Josh's family. Yep.
I don't care.
Yep.
And it's
Well,
not that I
it's
didn't
not
care about
affected.
the person that has died, which is my grandma. It's
Yep.
just it has no effect on me. It doesn't bother me
Yep.
because whether or not or what you believe, she's no longer there regardless. She's not in that
You
form
listen.
anymore. She's gone. So
If you listen to the last couple of videos, we talk about how the dead bury the dead.
the dead do bury the dead.
Yeah. So it's once you're in the kingdom, and you, if somebody's supposed to know truth, why would people be so hurt by it? So,
I agree.
but yeah, if you want, you can
And the reason why
send your
why it's different when you're in the kingdom is because you know what's going on.
yep.
There's no fear of what's happening to this person
Now,
and
perfect love
where they're
casts out all
going.
fear. Yeah, you can't fear. That's what we were talking about with Brother Kelly. Good news. Where you're talking about how you had people in their 80s, almost 90 years old, and they were afraid
Of death.
that of death. Like,
Yeah.
what if, even though they served Jesus their whole life and went and did the whole church thing and paid their tithes and did all that, like they were taught, they were still fearful of what if.
And I know something else is hard for people to understand too.
Hmm.
I know when my first grandma died, my dad's mom, the one that raised him.
Yep.
Dude, I didn't get over that for 10 years.
Yeah.
And what the Father showed me is that I wanted her here for my own selfish reasons. It had
Yeah.
nothing to do with her actually being here and living a life. It
Yep.
had to do with me wanting her here for my purposes.
Yeah.
And when I started realizing that, I totally disconnected from the whole death issue because I finally I was finally realizing that, my grandma, my dad's mom, cried literally every day, 24 hours a day for a year. Okay. And I still wanted her to be here in that condition. That's how selfish like us
Yeah.
humans can be. And I'm saying this me personally, because I
Yeah,
wanted her to
that's-
see me, like have the
Do this
life
or
that I
that,
always
right?
wanted, right?
Mhm.
And the family and everything. It was for my own selfish reasons. I still wanted her to be here. It wasn't because I wanted her to live a good life. I wanted her to see me live a life, right?
Just a second.
And
Go
I-
ahead and talk for a minute, Josh.
And I know it's hard. I know that's hard for that's hard to deal with, man. And I know people deal with that in their own ways and different things, but I'm not good at the one talking. John, you know this. But he's gonna make me the one talking. Okay.
No, you're okay. I had a visitor. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good, dude. You're good.
No, it's similar to when my mom passed away, and everybody thought that I would lose my stuff. Like I would just lose myself. Like a lot of people thought I would kill myself. I actually thought, at the time of my mom passing away, there was a possibility. I had a lot of former drug use and stuff, and like
I would have thought that if we never reconnected, that was probably going to be a possibility.
could have. And
But since we
But
had
when
already
you-
started doing some growing and realizing
Right.
things,
right, it like
Dealing-
literally,
dealing with that was easier.
I had a moment of crying at the funeral.
Right.
And that was it. I have never. I mean, there's a couple times I've thought about my mom, and I'm like, hey, you know what? I really kind of miss her. It's been over 3 years,
Right.
and that's kind of normal. This flesh, this connection that we have with
Oh,
the people that we grew up
We're
with.
not saying that like you're not going to cry or have emotions over these things. That's not what we're saying. We're saying allowing those things to rule. That ruled me for 10 years of my life. It
Exactly.
ruled me. And I was
Exactly.
mad at everything. I was pissed off at everybody in my life, man. It was destroying me, literally.
and only because of love.
And the relationships that were around me at the time.
Yep, and only because of love, I didn't have to go through that.
Right.
I was a mama's boy my whole life. Everybody knows it.
I was a grandma's boy.
That could have. Yep. And it
Anything
coulda
I ever
easily
really
did-
wanted, man, she was like, here,
Yep. And it could have destroyed me. It literally could have destroyed me. And when you said that selfishness, my mom had 7 strokes. She couldn't walk.
Right.
She couldn't hardly talk. She'd been in a nursing home for 3 years.
Right.
And why would I want to keep her like that?
Right.
Why would I want her to keep her like that? And then now coming into truth and knowing, what true love is and love of the Father and stuff. Man, if my mom wasn't in the kingdom right then, I don't know a lot of people.
Right.
that
We've talked a lot about how like towards the in that time frame when she was dealing with a lot of those things, especially there towards the end, you noticed that she was just a totally different person.
Oh yeah, you could not upset her.
Right.
You could not make her mad.
And this kind of reminds
it's
you
just
like
nothing.
how we are now.
Yeah.
Like you can do all kinds of stuff, and I'm just sitting. Come on, man! I got in a car wreck, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Listen, we'll get more mad at a piece of inanimate object that isn't working properly,
Dude, I got
than
mad
we can at a person.
I got mad at this sheet that it goes over my window of my door, and
Yeah.
I was pretty mad today about that because
We'll get.
I have
we'll get mad over stupid
I'm
stuff.
using my right arm, which is the one that's hurt, and I have other stuff in my other arm. That I'm literally holding a large pizza, like 3 drinks, and a bag of ice in the other arm and hand, and I'm trying to put the curtain back up because I came in the door, and it just wasn't going, dude. And it was really making me mad. I'm like, come on, stupid arm.
Oh man. So yeah, it's easy to get mad at that kind
Why
of stuff.
can't you do your job, arm?
Like,
For
'cause I
those
just
who
got
don't
hit by
know,
a
for those who
truck.
don't know that might be watching, it's things the things that really get under my skin are things that have a specific job, and
Yep.
it doesn't do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Those things
Yeah.
drive me up the wall.
Yeah. They can get agitated. Like the keyboard that doesn't work now.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
It's probably going to end up against the wall soon.
That was about a year and a half ago. I put a hole in the wall next to the booth here because I was playing a basketball game on my PlayStation. I no longer play video games hardly at all.
Right.
Because the controller in the game wasn't functioning the way it was supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally cheating me. And dude, like I said, I got so mad I punched a hole in the wall. So over
Probably
a
hurt your
video game.
knuckles. Yep.
No, it was the side of
Yep.
my hand. I hurt like the side of my hand and my wrist a little bit, but not
Right.
major. But
I
those
used
are the
to
things.
do that.
Like those are the
I
things
used to
that
do
drive
that.
me. You remember the incident with the door, dude? Man, I was
Oh,
mule
yeah.
kicking that thing because the stupid key wouldn't come out. Dude, those things send me. Dude, I'm telling you, a nuclear bomb could go off in my front yard, and I'll be like, okay.
Yeah, that sucked. Yeah.
The key gets stuck in the door, and I'm losing my mind.
Right. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I've been really good with the whole getting mad at stuff and people. Like,
same here.
Family could set me off so quick. Literally, if you know how much walls I've had to put money in to fix.
It was
so
like
I didn't hit
once a month occasion.
Yeah. So I didn't hit a person. I hit the wall. Like, that's what I did. And I didn't care about hurting myself or not. Like, at least
Right.
I wasn't hitting the person. So, yeah, I had to fix walls at several places I was at. And nothing here. Nothing I had, not even a feeling. So.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, like, Johnny would always ask me, like, what things you going to? I'm like, I'm not going through much of anything.
Yeah.
And then the day I was having to fit at the door because the stupid key wouldn't come out, man. Then he finally realized, like, oh, yeah, these are the things that Josh deals with. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the little things that agitate you throughout your life or your day
Yeah.
that aren't supposed to be doing those things. Those are the things that send me off into outer space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like today with the curtain.
Yeah. Mine was always people, and granted, when I say I had an issue with wanting to punch a wall, I still live with a few of the same people. They're not any different.
I think one of them might even be the main culprit.
He could be.
No, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about you. You're the issue.
Yeah. I'm the issue. Yeah, I might have been.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one taking offenses, right?
Yeah, nobody can give it to you. You take the offense. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. So before my blood started boiling, I actually ended up setting down the curtain nicely, going and put the other stuff down, and then going back to the curtain.
Yep. It's not a bad thing to have to go back.
I know, but when you're the guy who wants to make one trip with the groceries, it annoys the
shenanigans.
Yeah, out of you to go back for one bag.
Yep.
Anyway, let's get on with the show. I don't know. Okay, so this whole idea of this podcast is grace instead of grace and what that actually means.
Right.
Because you've probably heard the verse before, and I think it is in I think it's in the book of John 1:16. And let's see here. Where is?
Well, you might know the verse if you read the Bible yourself, because I'm not sure that it's ever been preached on.
No, I've heard this verse mentioned in passing, like.
Oh, as they're getting to the scripture, what they make a point about. Okay.
Yeah, and then they'll be like, from his fullness, we have all received grace upon grace. Well, it's not upon, for one thing. And we're going to show you that right here in John 1:16. If you go to the word upon, it actually means over against, opposite, instead of, not upon.
Well, how can you have grace instead of grace?
Yes, instead of grace. Grace instead of grace.
Yep.
Yes. That means you're substituting one grace for another grace.
Now, you definitely
this
didn't
is
hear
going to be
it
wild.
Like that. Yeah, you definitely didn't hear it put like that. Not in a sermon.
No, not in, and there's only a few scriptures that actually, like translations that actually have it as the Greek has it. One of them is the Young's Literal Translation, which is right here. And out of his fullness we did all receive, and grace over against grace, or grace instead of grace.
Right.
So in other words, this is telling you, for those in the chat, there are two different graces, and you have to replace one grace with the other grace.
So
there's
is an
one idea
of,
of grace, and then there's this other idea of grace. They're separate. They're not the same. And this is what we're going to be showing you today. Grace instead of grace.
You mentioned we have chatters.
Well, we have 3 people in the watching right now. So.
Oh, okay. Well, hello, people.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. So then we have the next verse, which is John 1:17. For the law was given through Moses, and grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Now, if you have to replace grace with grace, and then the next verse is talking about the law of Moses, which was a type of grace, and then it says grace and truth came through Jesus Christ, which is another grace.
Yeah.
These are 2 separate ideas, and they do 2 totally different things.
Yeah.
And we're going to show you what that is today.
Exactly what the true graces really are. Yep.
Versus one grace versus the other. Okay, so
this is going to get good, people. Stick with us. This is going to get good.
In John 1:16, the word grace, this is what it means. It means grace, kindness. Grace as a gift or blessing brought to man by Jesus Christ. B, favor. C, gratitude and thanks. And D, a favor and kindness. The conjugate of 5485 in the Strong's, another feminine noun, favor, disposed to, inclined, favorable towards, leaning towards to share benefit. Properly, grace is preeminently used of the Lord's favor, freely extended to give himself away to people, because he is always leaning towards them. Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Then we have this is answer directly to the Hebrew word. So it means it's a direct translation from the grace of Hebrew, now in Greek.
Yep.
So, which refers to God freely extending himself, his favor, grace, reaching, inclining to people because he is disposed to bless them. So this idea of
Yeah.
grace that it's originally talking about is referring to the Old Testament grace.
And God there is who, Josh?
The Lord or God,
Mhm.
Yahweh.
Exactly.
It's his favor that he gave the Jewish people. Well,
Yep.
what favor did he give them? He enslaved them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the favor he gave them.
Yep.
If you worship me as the one true God, I will be your God, and you will
Yep.
be my people. You will be my slaves. You will have my favor,
And which, when you talk
which
love,
is his grace.
when you talk about love, or the Father has no respecter of persons. So
No
there is
respecter
no
of
favored.
persons. So there is
There
no
is
one that's
no
favored
favored.
above another.
Exactly. No people over another people.
So you're
Absolutely.
exchanging this idea of favor, being selected, being the only people. You're not a Gentile. You're a Jew. You're an Israelite. You're favored by the only God, and everybody else isn't,
Mm-hmm.
for a different kind of grace. Now, what is the
Yep.
other kind of grace? Well, we're going to show you what that is too, because not only does this mean grace, as in favor, the word also means kindness.
Kindness. Yep.
Huh. That's going to come in play, because kindness is also a type of grace.
Yep.
But kindness isn't favor. And you'll see that once we get through these other scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see. I guess the next verse, scripture we're going to go through is 1 Corinthians 13, right?
Okay.
I think that's the next place we
Well,
went.
do you have the definition of favor?
Yeah, grace.
Okay.
Grace is the definition of favor. It's
Mm-hmm.
that's what it means. That's what we
All
just
right.
went through.
No, I'm looking for something else, but we're going to get to it. I know where we're going now. Go ahead.
Okay. So now, and there's going to be a lot of things that we're putting together today. Okay, so
Yeah.
now we're in 1 Corinthians 13:1. If I speak in tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 2. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing.
Nothing.
If I give all my possessions to the poor. Like I said, these are all things we've learned over the last 3 or 4 videos. We've learned
Yeah.
about a lot of these things already, about what the
Mhm.
possessions are here, being the old law of Moses, the
Mhm.
possessions, the rules, the regulations, the rituals that you're trying to keep.
Yep.
If I
Your
give
religion.
rid of all of those
Yep.
and give my body over to hardship, some of it says sacrifice my body, some of it says deliver my body up to be burned.
Mm-hmm.
I find it interesting that the actual Greek talks about your body being burned. I wonder
Right.
why. Well, we know what the narrative believes about hell, but whatever.
Right.
But do not have love, I've gained nothing.
Gain nothing.
1 Corinthians 13:4. Love is patient. Love is kind. Huh. Kind. As in, like, kindness?
Mm-hmm.
It is not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth.
Notice it doesn't say
Hold on.
love
It always-
favors.
It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves.
Mm-hmm.
Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues,
Yeah.
they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. And yes, like you said, the word grace isn't even in love.
Not when it comes to favor. Yeah.
That's what I'm
Doesn't
referring
say
to.
love.
That
Yep.
type of grace, the old grace, is not referred to as in having a special mission like Paul in a favor from a God, does not exist
Mhm.
in the context of love.
Nope.
And we could go over to Galatians where Paul says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, peace, joy, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness. Verse 23,
Okay.
gentleness, self-control. And against such things there is no law.
No law. Notice favor is not listed there either.
No favor. Why? Because the
Mm-mm.
true Father doesn't favor anyone.
Nope.
He's in everyone. He hasn't chosen
Yep.
certain people. He's not one that chooses certain people and denies others.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't love this person and hate someone else.
Nope.
Like Yahweh does. So, when we go look at the word here in 1 Corinthians 13 of kindness and see what it means, we're going to find out some interesting things. So, let's see here. Get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. All right. So, it means to be kind. I am kind. For a service to others, gentle. It means you're giving yourself service to others. You are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the word is I don't even know how to pronounce it. Crestoyoami, something like that.
Okay. I can see it.
Yeah. But it comes from a word right here. Christos.
Sounds
This
familiar.
is the root word. It means serviceable, good, useful, gentle, pleasant, kind.
Kind.
Let's see here. To furnish what is suitable, useful,
Useful.
properly, useful, well fitted, useful, beneficial. And this is the Christos word. On a spiritual plane, this word means suitable, fully kind, describes what God defined as kind, therefore also eternally useful.
That part is key. Eternally useful.
We have no adjective in English that conveys this blend of being kind and good at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
from a spiritual plane of existence anyway. But then we get into this other word here. Christus. And when I first saw this, and I said Christus, that sounds like Christus. Useful, kindly. As a common slave name in the Greco-Roman world. Huh. It appears as a spelling variant from the unfamiliar Christus, which is where we also get the variant of Christos,
Mm-hmm.
which is the word in English, Christ. And in
Yep.
Greek, the two words are pronounced alike. In other words, they're pronounced the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that interesting because Paul told you that he was a slave to the Lord.
Yep.
The Jews who had favor from Yahweh were slaves to him.
Mm-hmm.
Paul said he was a slave.
Yep.
Yet Jesus said we were no longer slaves.
That's what he said to the disciples.
Huh. And then I found this when I was looking up the word Christus and the word origin. Greek, anoint. Hebrew, Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
Greek, Christos, anointed. Latin, Christus. The first Bible was written in Latin. That wasn't in Hebrew. It was the first translated word over in, it was the Latin Vulgate.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have used the word Christus, which means that people would believe that they had to be a slave to the Father.
Yep.
So they could have his favor, his grace. And they all translate to the word Christ. So your definition of what it means to be or who Christ was, get that? You either believe you're a slave to a God or you're just kind to people.
Yeah.
And most Christians today believe that they're a slave.
Like Paul said.
He's a slave. This is what he talks about when he says servant. If you go look up the word, it means slave.
Yep.
We're not slaves. We got freed from that nonsense. But Paul
Absolutely.
didn't. Paul put you right back into another narrative where you're a slave to a God.
Yep.
So which grace do you have? Are you kind to people? Or do you have favor and that you're a slave to someone?
Yahweh. Yeah.
Because this is what it means to trade grace for grace. Trade your slavery, this supposed favor that enslaves you, for kindness, being kind.
And listen, the reason why Yahweh had favor for Israel is because that was Yahweh's portion. Israel was Yahweh's portion. So,
and he made the covenant with them.
Yep, he had the covenant with them. So now they are slaves to that covenant. That's what Jesus came to break. And then he goes on to say to the disciples, you're no longer slaves.
You're no longer slaves. You no longer have that grace. You're trading it in for a different grace.
Which is kindness.
This is why he told you to forgive and you will be forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
Be kind. Yep. Guess what? You're going to receive kindness.
Yep.
Show mercy and you'll be shown mercy.
The real reaping and sowing.
And this is why there's no word grace in love. It's the word kindness, being kind. There's no fruit of the Spirit of grace.
Matter of fact, real quick, Josh.
No one's favored in the Father. Everyone is equal. They'll tell you that, but then they'll say, oh, we're favored. No. The Father wants everyone to come to the knowledge of him.
You were given some showing where there's no grace in the love chapter, the fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
How many times did the man that everyone follows that they call Jesus actually say grace? Say the name grace, the word grace.
Not once. Jesus never said the word grace, ever.
What?
Not one time in the Bible did Jesus ever say out of his mouth the word grace. He never. Also mentioned. He never mentioned the Garden of Eden. He never mentioned the sin of Adam. Even he never mentioned none of that stuff.
Nope. It's so important.
But yeah, these things are so important that the man who came here to break us free from slavery under a God never said it or mentioned it one time.
Why? Because he didn't want you under the bondage of all that crap.
So Paul, who's not spiritual, under his own admission, reads a word, Christos, and believes he's supposed to be a slave. And no, it's just like, you're supposed to be kind to people.
Yep.
You know, love people, right?
Love people. What are you talking about?
So, going back to the going into Ephesians, this is where we have, for it is by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not from yourselves, but a gift from God. This statement under Paul's own admission is wrong. You're not saved by favor from God.
No, not from Yahweh.
It's not that grace. It's not slavery. It's enslave you in this body, this one. That's what the slavery was. They could not go back to the Father like Jesus did when he died on the cross. When the Jews died, they had to go to where? Purgatory, right? The holding place. Jesus then had to go leave captivity captive, right? The slaves, he had to lead them free. Why? Because they were a slave to Yahweh. That's the grace they were given. Slavery. To be imprisoned. If you want to be saved by that grace, go ahead. It's not what I'm saved by. No. Because I'm not trying to save this mortal life. You're going to pass away. Or do you not understand when it says, it is appointed to man to die? You're going to die. You can't save this existence.
Nah,
you can preserve it when you go into the kingdom. The love inside of you will preserve you. But Paul's whole thing is he's trying to save his mortal life.
Yeah.
He's trying to get you to save the mortal life. You have to die. From dust you came, dust you shall return. Ashes to ashes. Father's been talking to me about this for a couple weeks now.
Right.
I find it interesting that this is the topic that comes up while I'm, the thing with my grandma comes up while I'm in the middle of doing all this.
Right.
And people trying to save this life. Can't save it. It's going to die. You're going to die. You got to deal with it and get over it. It's part of this process.
Can't fear it.
It's part of the reason why we're here. Literally.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be learning things here. Everyone has the Father in them. Everyone can wake up. No one's on a special mission. We all have our own thing that we're supposed to do here, that the Father's called us to do, but no one's special. He's given us all things to do.
Well, actually, we're all special equally, because there's no
not
there's
in
no
that sense that
yeah.
I'm so special because my name's Paul and you have to listen to me and I'm your God. No.
Right.
We're all equal.
You know, being in the church narrative, you're around people that you perceive that they feel like they're somehow special because they're saved.
Because they're the pastor and they're holy and you're just a peon out in sitting in the church.
Well, that and if you're in church and you're following the narrative, you get this idea that people believe that they're better off in this life than the people that aren't in church, the people that haven't got saved.
Yeah,
when in
because they're
fact,
chosen.
everybody's on the same.
They're chosen.
Everybody's on the same.
They're a royal
Mhm.
priesthood. They're chosen. You're not. And God knew in his forbearance that you'd never become one of his chosen people, you sinner, you. You're going to hell.
You know, that's what we were told by a pastor, right?
It's nonsense.
It is nonsense. So, and this is something that we had to bring to you because on the channel here, out in our regular life, we're about freeing people. We're about freedom. And it's interesting that, you know, how Paul says something and James says something different. And everybody wants to believe Paul.
Yep. Paul said it wasn't by faith that you're saved only. In other words, it wasn't by some favor, grace, through faith that you're saved.
Yep.
You had to have the works. And what were the works? Love, kindness, joy, peace, long-suffering. All the things love is. And it's not grace. Grace is not one of them.
It's characteristics of love and the fruits of the Spirit. Those
Exactly.
are the fruits. Those are the works.
Those are the works.
Not going to church on Sunday and Wednesday and Friday and paying your tithes on time every week.
It's
and
just
blah,
like
blah, blah.
It's like the Father told me, what were the works of Jesus? And I was like, well, the church believes it was the healing the sick.
Mm-hmm. Casting out demons.
Casting out demons. Making the lame walk. Healing the blind. Healing the guy with the crooked hand that he put in his coat and took it out or whatever.
The signs and wonders that everybody looks for now.
Those were his works. His works was he forgave people. He loved people. He showed them mercy.
And kindness.
And kindness. Those were the works
of the Spirit. His works were the fruits of the Spirit, the characteristics of love, not the signs and wonders.
Exactly. Only a wicked and perverse generation look at the signs.
And wonder,
They're not. This is why he said, if you don't believe my words that I'm speaking to you, at least believe the works. It wasn't the miracles. It was his love, his kindness, his mercy, his gentleness, his joy, his peace. Those were his works, not the miracles.
That's just stuff that happens as a side effect of the love.
Exactly.
In this realm. That's stuff you can see in this realm, but has nothing to do with the Spirit. The Spirit are love and joy and peace and all those things that we're talking about.
But what about faith? What about faith, John? What about faith? Well, we're going to show you right here about faith. So, love never fails, but where there's prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there's knowledge, it will pass away. Verse 9, for we know in part, and we prophesy in part. Paul's telling you right here, when you're in part, you're doing those things, prophesying,
you're halfway
speaking in tongues, knowing knowledge. When you're in part. Verse 10, but when completeness comes, when you're perfected fully in love, when you're in the kingdom, what in part disappears. Now he's going to tell you what those things are. What were the things in part? It wasn't just prophecy. It was the things before he said love too. It was faith to move mountains. It was the knowledge and mysteries, being able to decipher all of them. It's all those things that he mentioned before. Faith being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
John, we have to have faith, John, right?
Well,
Only if
we'll
you're
get
in
to it.
part. When
Yep.
you're in completeness, those things
You know.
disappear.
Yep. You already know.
Now look what he says. Now, even me, I'm one of them, and we have even talked about this, saying this is the opposite of what Jesus said. And on the surface, it is. Jesus said you're supposed to become like a child, and now Paul's going to tell you that you have to grow up.
Yep.
But this is not what he's saying. He says, when I was a child. He's referring to when he was in part.
Yep.
When he wasn't complete.
Yep.
When he wasn't fully in love. I talk like a child.
Mm-hmm.
The foolish things that the church talks about all the time. Most of his writings even.
Yep.
I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put away the ways of childhood behind me. Or the childish things is what some of them say.
But the separation is, the difference is, when Jesus said you to be like a child, you mean to be like love, when you were pure love.
Yes.
Here, when he said he put away childish things, he put away the foolish beliefs
Exactly.
that he had.
He stopped prophesying. He stopped speaking in tongues. He stopped the quest for knowledge and searching the mysteries endlessly.
Yep.
This idea of knowledge of good and evil and right and wrong. He done away with that nonsense. He done away with faith because he didn't need faith anymore. He knew.
Yeah.
Because in
faith
love, you have all those things. You're complete now.
Faith means to be persuaded. He didn't need to be persuaded no more because he knew in full.
Yes. All truths are in you. He knew all truths. You don't need to be persuaded anymore.
Nope.
He knows. And these are the childish things that he was referring to. He was referring to, at the beginning of the chapter, all those things.
Exactly.
And we're going to go back and read them real quick. If I speak in tongues of man or of angels, but do not have love, love is being grown to Paul, to Christ, that's returning back to where you was when you was a child.
And being in the kingdom.
And this is where the confusion comes in. So speaking in tongues, childish. If I have the gift of prophecy, childish. It can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge. It's childish.
Childish.
If I have faith that can move mountains, childish.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you do when you only have part of it.
Yep.
These are the things you do before you're complete.
When you're not yet in the kingdom. Yep.
When you do not know love.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I don't have love, I have nothing. Doing those things and not having love, you have nothing.
He said it.
And here's the
you
thing.
do all those things.
When you have love, you're not doing any of those things. They all pass away.
It's not needed.
If I give all my possessions to the poor. Oh, here we go. Childish.
Yeah.
And give my body over to hardship that I may boast. Like he did all the time. But I do not have love. I gain nothing. And then he starts talking about love. When you're completely in love in the Father, within you, in the kingdom, all those things pass away. All of them. So, we're down to one verse. And this is what's going to bring it full circle. So after what we've already talked about, We are in 1 John 2:22. First video I ever done. And we're going to go to the Young's literal translation.
Real quick, Josh, if anybody in the chat has any questions you want to ask, we'll give you a couple of minutes at the end of this to see about any questions you may have. Go ahead, though. Go ahead.
All right. For who is the liar except he who is denying that Jesus is the Christ? Question mark. Make that clear. That's a question. Who is the liar? Except he who's denying that Jesus is the Christ? No. This one is Antichrist, who is denying the Father and the Son.
Yep. The church will say, I was telling you that the first part is a statement.
Yeah.
But indeed, it's a question. So read it again as a question, Josh, real quick.
Who is the liar except he who is denying Jesus is the Christ?
That's a question.
This one is Antichrist, who is denying the Father and the Son.
That's right.
Now, let me ask you this. Which grace are they using there? Which Christ are they using there? Jesus is the Christ. Jesus was the one that was favored amongst all of us.
Yep.
Oh, he was the slave then, wasn't he? Jesus is the slave, they'll say. He's the Christ. Right?
Yeah. Well, the church wants him to be a slave now. They take him out and rub him like a genie. And can you heal me, Jesus?
Yeah, and he went and died on the cross for their sins, right? It was him who was chosen to do all of those things. It was him to set me free. I don't have to do anything. He's the slave.
Take him out on Sunday morning. Take him back out when they're sick or somebody is in a wreck or, something happened. Rub him on his head. Little baby Jesus, help me. Whatever he could do for them, right? They're a little slave.
Right?
Yep.
I'm looking for the other verse real quick. It's usually right here. Oh, yep, there it is. So, the one who's Antichrist is the one who denies the Father and the Son. That's the love that's inside of you. If you deny your Father and the Son within you, love, then you're anti-Christ or anti-kindness.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think Jesus is a slave for you, that he had to go do everything, you don't have to do nothing because he's going to save this worthless life that you have here in this mortal body. You're fooled.
Yep.
This body is going to die. It's going to pass away. The only part of you that's going to remain is the love inside of you when it returns to the Father if you go back to the kingdom. That's within you. And it preserves this version of you. It preserves this identity that you have in this existence. If not, you're gone.
Yeah.
Verse 23. No one who denies the Son has the Father. Imagine that. Whoever acknowledges the Son has the Father also. So we can see right here in the next verse, it's not talking about denying Jesus is the Christ, the slave. It's talking about who the Son is. That would be you. If you deny yourself, the Father within you.
The light that was put in you.
The light,
when you were born,
that you had.
The true light. Yep. And people say that, like, no, we're born original sin. We ain't got no life in us. There's no light in us. We got to ask Jesus in our hearts.
Yeah,
And ask for forgiveness.
right. I told Tibbs that today too. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
we done a podcast recently about kids and the church belief that our kids are monsters.
Yep.
And that
Little
they,
sinful bags of flesh.
and they need someone to come and save them.
Yeah.
When
Because they're horrible.
When Jesus said, if anyone touches one of these little ones and makes them stumble.
That's right. That's right.
Why? Because they were already in the kingdom.
That's right. And what have people done for generation after generation?
There's going to be a lot of millstones.
There's going to be a lot of millstones, man. If people don't get forgiveness and come into the kingdom and die to all that crap,
There's going to be a lot of millstones
on a lot of necks.
And
that's right.
I'm saying, we were those people too.
Absolutely.
I don't want people to
Absolutely.
get the impression sometimes that we're just bashing.
Oh, well, you and Josh think you know everything. You think you know everything.
About bashing people who are Christians. No, we're wanting them to wake up to the truth.
It's the narrative that we can't stand.
I can't
because
stand
we
the narrative
see the
at
evil
all.
in it. Mm-hmm.
Because it's been leading people astray for over 2,000 years. Well, actually,
And it
longer
leads
than
you-
that. It's been
leads you
leading
to-
for a long time. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it leads you right back to Yahweh, that was the one that had you enslaved in the first place. Well, the Israelites, and now everybody thinks to Paul's narrative.
Right? And this was going on before that too, and under Yahweh, the Old Testament too. So, I mean,
Yeah.
just
Mm-hmm.
a continuation. But again, who is the liar except he who denies that Jesus is the Christ? This one is
No.
Antichrist, who denies the Father and the Son. Okay?
Exactly.
Now, you can say, well, Josh, the church believes something different than that. How do we know you're right? Okay. This is Matthew 4:25. For many will come in my name, in the name of Jesus, claiming, I am the Christ. This is Jesus speaking.
Mm-hmm.
They will deceive many.
Yep.
I'll say that again. For many will come in my name, in the name of Jesus,
Jesus speaking.
and they're claiming that I am the Christ. They're claiming I am the Christ. They're claiming that Jesus is the Christ.
Yep.
And
It's
they
not
will
saying-
deceive many. How many people do we know who are in the church narrative? All 4 billion people. And you think they're
Yep.
right when Jesus said very few ever entered the kingdom.
Yep.
I'll wait, but I'm the one that's wrong, right?
real quick, just so they know. That's not saying there'll be people coming like Josh or me saying, I'm Christ. I'm the Christ. It ain't talking about the Branch Davidian and David Koresh saying he's Christ. He's
No,
Jesus
they're
Christ.
saying that Jesus was the Christ.
Yeah, that's what Jesus is saying. There are people going to come in the future
And say that
and
I'm
they're
the
going to
slave,
say, yep,
that I'm the one that's
Yep.
favored,
yep.
that I'm the only one. They can't do nothing. He's the only one with the Spirit of God hit him.
And he's the payment for your sin.
And they will deceive
all the
many.
Yep. And how many is many? Well, there's 4 billion in church right now that claim to be Christian.
And how many is a few?
And a handful is talking about it on the internet.
Right?
handful.
It's crazy once you start seeing these things. Like, the
Yeah.
church narrative is just totally backwards. And why? Because they only see in part, like Paul said.
Yeah.
They're the ones prophesying and speaking in tongues and all this other nonsense. And they're only
can
seeing part of what's being said and understood in the truth.
Going back to that scripture real quick, you can imagine Jesus, and he's talking to his disciples. And he's saying, yeah, you know what, in the future, because he brought no glory to himself. He always directed to the Father within him, his Father,
Yep.
just like the Father in you.
Yep.
You imagine him talking to his disciples, he'd be like, listen, guys, there's going to literally be people in the future that are going to say, I'm Christ. They're going to tell
I'm the
people,
only one, that I'm the
Yeah.
one that's favored, and nobody else can
Yep.
receive what I've received from my Father. You have to go through
Yep.
me. No, it's through the love inside of you, because
Yeah,
you have the
and-
Son inside of you and the Father inside of you.
And he's saying to him, he's like, look, guys, they're going to deceive so many people by saying this. And he said, and he's probably saying at the same time, but remember when I told you, you ain't a slave.
You're not a slave.
You're not a slave. But these other people are going to be deceived because there's going to be people standing behind pulpits or
Why?
saying, I'm on a special mission from God.
Because they interpreted a word wrong.
Yep.
They made a whole doctrine of nonsense,
Because they couldn't figure out the word kindness.
and they never understood what grace for grace was.
Yep.
Favor versus
For
kindness.
Or
You
love.
have to trade
Yep.
your favor in being a slave for
Mhm.
kindness.
Which kindness is a fruit of love, right? It's what love
It
is.
is.
So it's favor or being enslaved, right, by Yahweh. That's
Yeah.
his favor for love. Favor or love? Yahweh or the Father? Which do you choose?
Which grace do you want? Do you want to be a slave and be stuck here in
Mhm.
this existence for eternity with Yahweh? How's that going to work out for you? How's it worked out for you so far?
Because Yahweh's plan is to judge the crap out of everybody.
And only his true favored.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're going to be one of those true? You think you're going to be one of those 144,000?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
So, does anybody have any questions, or are you have anything else, Josh?
If you guys have any questions, those who are watching, put it in the chat, and we'll talk about it.
Yep.
Give them a minute because the chat is on slow or whatever, or the video's lagging behind a little bit or whatever
It always does.
for the stream. So
Right. So, I think personally, it's the best video yet.
always with you. It's always the best video. Yeah. No, I think this is somewhat closing. I wouldn't say a chapter, but it's bookending a lot of things that we've been saying over the last almost 11 months now.
It put a big bow on a lot.
Yeah,
It really did. And so from glory to glory, right?
exactly.
He'll start showing us the next stuff. I know when Josh was talking to me about this stuff yesterday, it's real interesting because when we even talked about it, how when we first started talking, I'll just talk for a second while in case they put in a question.
Oh, go ahead.
When we first started talking, we first died to this world and all this, and we came into the kingdom. One of us would get something, and we'd say it to the other one. Well, Father told me this. We'd struggle a little bit more with, what do you mean by that? I don't get it. What? Yesterday, when Josh said this, as soon as he started reading the scripture, I knew exactly what he was saying. Exactly.
And where
It
I was
was
going,
crazy. Exactly where he was going with
and
it.
it was putting all these things together as
Yeah.
together. It's putting all those things together about grace and kindness,
Yep.
and finding out that kindness, there's two different kinds, and
Mm-hmm.
you know how the Romans used to call us Christians, right? Used to call us slaves.
Yep.
Imagine that.
Calling us slaves. You want to be a Christian? All right.
We're not slaves. We're sovereign and
You're
free, divine.
A Christian. You're slave-like. Okay. Slave-like. That's all right. I don't want to be slave-like. So did anybody have anything?
No, nobody's put nothing in. So, I mean, if you want to go ahead and close out.
We will close it out.
Unless you got something else you want to talk about.
No, I'm good. I was waiting all day for this video. There's some other things going on today, but I want to do the video. I didn't feel like doing the video, but I wanted to do the video. Anyway, make sure everybody to like the video. It'd be
Comment,
nice that you
share,
don't have to
subscribe, hit the
share it
notification
on your
button.
social. Let me do my part. Thank you, sir.
I thought you was done.
Share it on your share it on your social media. Make sure to share it on your social media. Other people need to hear truth, even if it ticks them off. That's all right. They might find the kingdom. Comment down below if there's something you think of later. Put it in the comment, or you can email us lastawakeningwarriors@gmail.com. Make sure that you bless somebody.
.com.
Bless somebody.
Oh, you got me cracking up.
And be blessed. I'll do my ending.
And as always, do the kindness that's inside of you. And be blessed.
Unlocking secrets of the universe.
Welcome to the Last Awakening podcast.
Oh no, I think I've lost my mind. I think I've lost it all. Oh no, I think I've lost my mind. I think I've
Get you
lost control.
a handcrafted root beer to end your day.
And a stick of pepperoni.